There we go. All right. Let's see. So I wanted to talk a little bit about today. Welcome to the Be Better podcast. I have a topic that I've been trying to talk about for a little bit. Mainly that the House just passed a bill for $95.3 billion to send aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. First and foremost, this channel here, I'm basically talking about things that are interesting to me, things that are going on in the world, and hopefully we can get a little bit of awareness as to what is happening in the world, what could we do about it, what can't we do, and have some friendly discussions, bring on some guests, and see if this is something that can help us all become a little bit better each and every day, getting a little bit self-aware, working on fitness, finances, and our families. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to break down, learn together about the new bill that just passed. It's quite frankly, it's almost $100 billion that was sent over to these countries. So let's go ahead and break it down. All right. So looking at this page right here, it looks like 6 months after President Joe Biden first asked for it, the House passed a tweaked version of his emergency aid package for U.S. allies with strong bipartisan support, sending it back to a Senate for a final vote. So $95.3 billion supplemental spending measure passed under an unusual procedure in which lawmakers voted on 4 separate bills. The largest piece was a $60.8 billion for Ukraine, which passed 311 to 112, 26.4 going to Israel and humanitarian aid to Gaza, and 8.1 billion to help Taiwan and other Indo-Pacific allies like the Philippines also received strong support, unanimous 385 to 34. And lastly, the House voted 360 to 58 to pass a sidecar package consisting of some measures related to the foreign aid bills, such as authorizing the seizure of about $5 billion in frozen Russian assets. All right. Now, as far as getting into is this right? Is this wrong? Me personally, I think this is way too much money that the government's spending right now, especially with what's going on here close to home. Got veterans sleeping on the streets, got people laying out tents in New York City, people breaking into malls, and everything else. Do some of them need some help? Possibly. So let me break down into this. And it says here, there's a quote right here. For months, the national security priorities of the American people have been obstructed by pro-Putin extremists determined to let Russia win, Jeffries said. And a bipartisan coalition of Democrats and Republicans has risen up to work together and ensure that we're getting the national security legislation important to the American people over the finish line. Now, as far as, what we're currently doing in the world, we feel like America's a big bully. And, we try to put our nose into everything, conflicts that we don't know too much about. Me personally, the Israel war and what's going on, I definitely feel for those for the people there. I'm going to try to bring someone on who knows a lot more about that so that I don't ever butcher anything that I'm about to say about it. But this is what's going on when we keep printing money. I saw a video I'd like to share. Let's see here. Check this out.
Can somebody explain to me in crayon eating terms why I make over 3 times the federal minimum wage and I cannot afford to live? And I do not want to hear the pull yourself up from your bootstraps, work 90 hours a week. That's not the goal, guys. That should not be our standard. I am so fucking tired of people being complacent with this uniparty, both of them fucking us over. When my parents were my age, they both made less than half of what I make, and they lived alone. I cannot afford to live anywhere alone. A 1-bedroom apartment, $1,800. 2-bedroom apartment, $2,200. Who the fuck can afford that? It is embarrassing to come out and say that it is a struggle to survive right now, but I know so many people are struggling. And do not get me started on what my grandparents were doing. They $3,000 house. And yes, I understand inflation and all of the bullshit that they have been pulling with the Fed. Why are we allowing it? Why? And then I clock out of my shift. I am tired. I have to go home. And I check the news. Another 60 fucking billion to a country nobody can point out on a map.
All right. So that country, I guess that bill that he was talking to was in the past. It was that $60 billion bill that passed. And now another one just passed, almost $100 billion. And it's getting to the point where, you know, people are hurting. You know, I work in finance. I help a lot of people. And I see the struggle. Struggle's real. And when we have leaders that care more about other countries than they do about Americans themselves, it starts getting to a point where it's a little bit sad. You know, you can start to feel a little bit, you start to get a little bit not as optimistic about this country as it once was. And hopefully better leadership, better, we can have better leadership guiding us to the right direction again, because what this guy just explained, and I actually have some statistics here, but in the last 2-3 years, inflation has been going up about 3 to 5%. Wages have been pretty consistent across the board. For personal experience, mortgage tax rates, people's taxes on their mortgages have gone up over $1,000, $2,000 per year. People on fixed incomes, and people like companies like BlackRock are snatching it up because these are the opportunities that big companies see. So when I see the House passing more and more bills, all I see is inflation. And the bottom line is that's not a set in stone thing. But if you keep printing $100 billion every 6 months, eventually we're going to keep feeling it as Americans, because it's not government funded. It's people funded. We are taxpayers. We're the taxpayers here. We pay for everything here that the government's funding. The government doesn't make any income. They don't have any businesses. They don't offer, all the college funding that they provide, FAFSA, it's all taxpayer dollars. So whenever something says that the House passes it, we're passing it, because technically we're the ones that are getting taxed, and we're the ones who are actually paying for all this stuff. So it makes no sense for sometimes the amount of money I see going to other countries and not Americans. Now, I also saw another article that kind of shocked me. It was some veterans. Let me get into the big screen here. Shout out to myself. All right, cool. So what I want to see is I actually saw some veterans sleeping on the streets in New York City and Florida. And if you think about it, if you take $950 billion, right? Let's do the math. And I just got an Apple computer. I don't know how to open up a calculator. Hold up. There we go. All right. $950 billion divided up. Let's just say 500,000. Oh, also, the people in Hawaii, when the fires happened, they got about $700 a piece. $700. And the government just sent $100 billion to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. So, it's kind of funny what you see and on the news. And when you wake up every day and you see all this stuff, inflation going up, it just kind of hurts a little bit. And I really like to see a little bit better things out there for the people. But this is just something that I'm bringing out to you guys. so we could learn together and see what's going on in the world. The other thing that happened recently was, let's see here, we had a pretty big news article about Tucker Carlson going on the Joe Rogan show. Check this out.
To accommodate that. Back to Ask Tucker. We're sitting here in the studio between interviews, going through emails that you have sent asking for advice. And because we are slightly overbearing and filled with
this is related to more about cancel culture.
We're going to accommodate that with gusto. Okay, so here's the first question that we received. I'm about to become a dad for the first time. How do I teach obedience to a child without being a tyrant? Boy, that is a deep question. That's an actual email we received from a really smart viewer. That's tough. Obedience is essential. The child must respect his or her parents, or else the child will go completely off the deep end and be unhappy. But instilling discipline in a child is a tightrope. Of course, being a tyrant works when the kid is little. But if you're unreasonable and arbitrary, at some point that child will mature into an adult and realize that you were a very bad leader, that you were unreasonable and arbitrary, and resent it and possibly turn against you. So really the answer is never be unreasonable or arbitrary.
Now, the reason this topic's so important is in order to change the world and make it better, we need leaders to emerge. And those leaders are kids. Kids, you know, I was once a kid, grew up with great parents, and they taught me confidence, belief, believe in myself. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to see the world, what's going on, and try to make a difference, right? But what I'm starting to see now in this new era, it's almost like parents are getting pushed to the side. You know, we can't really parent people. We can't really parent our kids like we used to. My dad instilled a lot of discipline in me. It could have been a little bit barbaric with a belt or whatever it was, but it worked. Now we got kids with, DIFUS on speed dial, and you're not allowed to, do any type of parenting that doesn't seem fit with the new era here. And that's not cool. So let's see what he says here.
Always give a rational reason, even to a small child, for the instructions that you're giving. No, you can't do that because. The key mistake parents make, mothers make mostly, but also fathers, is because I said so. Because I said so. So what's the message that you're sending? The message that you're sending is rules come down from on high. No one explains why these rules are a good idea. And the only message that you get is do this or I'll hurt you. There's something in the human spirit that at some point is going to rebel against that and should rebel against that because it's arbitrary and unreasonable. Whereas if you establish early, very early, at the earliest possible time, a connection between a rule and a reason, if you insert logic into the instruction, then even little kids get it. Don't touch the stove because it'll burn your fingers. And the other advice I would give is be calm. There's something about little kids asking, why? There's a why stage in childhood. I can't remember what age it is, but 5 maybe. Why? And it's this sort of endless Talmudic colloquy between you and the child. Well, don't do that. Why? Well, because this. Well, why? And even the most patient parent can get annoyed. Well, because you snap. And my unsolicited, or I guess in this case it is solicited, advice to any parent is try to stay patient. And as long as the kid asks why, provide an answer. And by the way, if at some point you can't provide an answer, it's on you. You're the parent. You're the adult. So if you can't actually explain why a kid should be doing something, you need to assess whether the kid should be doing it. Which is another way of saying you're learning too. You should let reason be the guide. That doesn't undermine your authority. It enhances your authority and creates a durable respect that will extend throughout your life. Your kid will respect you when you're old if you parent like that. So that's my advice. All right, next question.
So
my girlfriend says I dress like a slob.
What he said there.
Should a guy really care?
Shut up. Let's repeat it back. So basically, he's saying try to talk to the child and have him reaffirm what you're saying, have a reason why you're saying it. Don't just say because. And that makes sense, right? Because a lot of parents, especially my dad, my mom growing up, they just said, just because I'm older than you, I know better. But if you are able to sell, because selling is technically parenting, you're able to sell your son or your daughter onto an ideal, on exactly why he's doing something, and you let him know it's for his own good. They're a lot more they're going to be a lot more responsive to your ideas as opposed to just bullying them to doing it. I actually like that point. However, there is an argument that this new generation is becoming a lot softer because parents aren't disciplining their kids enough. I see it on the malls every day. I see teachers, talking to their students, and there's definitely got a little bit be a little bit more of a stronger parenting coming back to this new generation, and I definitely hope that does happen again. And then the last topic I definitely wanted to discuss was the Trump trial that was set to be in New York City. And as a matter of fact, they were trying to select a jury for the trial, and one of the juries selected actually said when she was committing to oath that she wasn't going to be fair and partial because the president was Trump. It was ex-President Trump. So she asked to be excused because she knew she wasn't going to vote fairly. That's pretty wild, to say the least. So they finally finalized the trial, and it's set to be coming out soon. Hopefully, everything goes well with that, and he's allowed to, you know, battle Biden when it comes down to the 2024 election. And at the end of the day, all we can do is learn a little bit more, get a little bit better every single day, and try to make the world a better place. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll definitely be doing more of these. You guys have a good night.